The question is a very real, significant problem. You can ask your friend Tucker, who wants to call them traitors, genocidal, SS, fascist, killers, worthy of the SS, worthy of the Einsatzgruppen, sons and daughters of generation of the Holocaust. But a very practical matter. In my son's unit, I don't want to mention the unit. Half of them are lone soldiers from America, France, Belgium, who are fleeing because they cannot travel. They are outed. The Hague is looking for them.
Welcome back, folks. We're diving headfirst into a hot mess of takes that will make your head spin faster than a DC politician trying to avoid a straight answer. This clip is a prime example of the kind of upside-down thinking affecting our discourse. We've got someone here who decides that they're the moral arbiter of who gets to be an American and who's a terrorist based on their own, well, let's just say unique interpretation of global events. I'm here to cut through the noise, expose the double standards, and maybe, just maybe, inject a dose of reality into this echo chamber. Let's roll and play the tape.
Keep talking. Keep talking dirty to me. Now, that whiny man that you just heard from is an Israeli who took part in a town hall in Israel. As you can see, the US ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, was part of this discussion. You don't see the gentleman speaking. He's in the audience, but he's asking a question about IDF soldiers. Clearly, he has a son and family members in the IDF. They are being accused of committing genocide. They have definitely carried out atrocities, which we've been covering on this show day in and day out. And he doesn't like the fact that they are not welcomed in other parts of the world that haven't been fully captured by Israel. And so he's about to ask a question about dual citizenship. Because lately there have been more and more Americans, some prominent Americans like Tucker Carlson, really questioning whether it makes sense for someone who has an American passport to fight as an IDF soldier. So we can have a discussion about that after we hear more from the gentleman at the town hall.
Even to the United States. Even the United States, there have been calls, I guess, our new mayor of New York wants to basically obey the Hague over America. So I want to ask you a very practical question. To protect the best of the best, what will happen? Because I think eventually it's going to happen and be tested somewhere in this world. They're going to grab an American citizen they've identified. They know who they are. They know thousands of their names. They're preparing cases. One of my son's comrades had to flee Germany. Another had to flee South Africa, arrested. Another had to flee Belgium. When is it going to come in America? Are you prepared? And what will be done at that moment so they can be secure in what they have done for all of Am Yisrael and all of America, too? They fight for America now. They're not traitors to America, as they've been called publicly on television by politicians and your friend Tucker, who says they should be stripped of their American citizenship immediately.
I agree with Tucker Carlson. These IDF soldiers are not fighting for America. They're getting paid with money that we took out in the form of loans to carry out mass slaughter of innocents.
Whoa. Hold your horses there. Not fighting for America and mass slaughter of innocents? Let's pump the brakes on that runaway train of craziness. When our allies like Israel face existential threats, their fight isn't just about them. It's about regional stability, critical global security, and yes, by extension, our interests as well. Calling a sovereign nation's defense force a formal terrorism group is a rhetoric leap so wide you need a rocket launcher to clear it. It's a convenient label for anyone you disagree with. But terrorists don't build hospitals or warn civilians. They hide behind them. This isn't mass slaughter, it's survival in a brutal neighborhood. Let's not confuse self-defense with aggression. A kindergarten class could understand the difference, but apparently, unlike some analysts out there.
Not just in Gaza at this point. They are a formal terrorism group. They should be listed as such. And the reason why they are being wanted by the Hague, by the international courts, is because they have broken international laws. They are criminals. They don't represent the best of us. Well, I get that he thinks that because he's a racist and loathes the Arabs and thinks that they should be probably wiped off from the face of the earth. But normal people who aren't genocidal, don't think that. Normal people who actually value human lives, regardless of the identity of said human lives, would like justice to be served when terrorists carry out terroristic acts and kill innocent people. And that's what the IDF has been doing. Does that hurt your feelings? I mean, if it does hurt your feelings, number one, good. But number two, I could show you receipts. In fact, I just watched this show over the last 2 years, and it's receipt upon receipt upon receipt. But I'll give you a little more right now. I've got a lot more where that came from. Now, Mike Huckabee, the US ambassador to Israel and a traitor to America, be very clear about that, considering the fact that he met with Jonathan Pollard, a guy who worked for our CIA, stole our secrets, and gave those secrets to Israel. He proceeded to basically pleasure this man, the panicky Israeli, and let him know, like, don't worry, the US is working around the clock to protect you. That's the only thing the US government does. But who cares? We don't need to listen to that. We already know what kind of answer he's going to give. But Israelis should be aware that they're the only people who, think like the IDF are heroes. Literally, they're the only people. So when I went on that rant and said that Israel is hated on the international stage, I meant it because it's true. And they've got to be aware of that. They have to be aware of that because all of us pay consequences based on our behavior. If you go around slaughtering innocent people, mocking the dead, one of the stories that I just could not get past, I can't get past, we didn't even report on it. IDF soldiers dig up graves in Gaza. They dig up the graves of Palestinians, and then they, either leave the bodies out, or if they're nice enough, maybe throw all the bodies in a mass grave. They're terrorists. They're disgusting people. The IDF writes the names of Americans who disagree with their mass slaughter campaign on missiles that they're about to kill more innocent people with. In fact, they wrote Cenk's name on one of those missiles.
Now, that's a juicy one. Terrorists discussing people and writing names on missiles? This isn't analysis. It's a script from a B-grade propaganda film. When you start dehumanizing any entire military, you're not making an argument. You're just spewing venom. Soldiers in any conflict zone, under immense pressure, do things we might find jarring. But to leap from jarring to terrorist is a bridge too far. It's a classic tactic. Demonize the opponent so thoroughly that any action against them seems justified. It's the same playbook used by every despicable regime. And let's not forget the source of these sensational claims. Is it verified intelligence or just another round of believe all accusations if they fit my narrative? I'm betting on the latter. It's like calling your neighbor a serial killer because their lawn is overgrown. Give me a break.
I mean, Cenk partially paid for those weapons. So think about how insulting that is. That we live in a situation where our government forces us to go into a tremendous amount of debt so these terrorists can mock us and write our names in a threatening way on missiles that they're going to use to slaughter innocent people, mostly women and children. So yeah, the IDF ends up getting run out of town, regardless of which country they go to. The US is an exception, unfortunately, because they're hated on the international stage. And it's not because they're Jewish. It's not because they're Jewish at all. Jeffrey Sachs is Jewish. He is welcomed anywhere. He's welcomed in my home. I love that man because of what he stands for. What does the IDF stand for right now? Again, mass slaughter. So let's talk about that a little bit. I want to show you a visual so you kind of get a sense of why I'm not interested in having these people hold a US passport. Take a look.
Okay, so here you can see the Israeli soldiers are now forcing all of these shops to close because there's a tour of Israeli settlers who are here. Can we go this way? Why? I'm an American journalist. Are we not allowed to go this way?
No.
Huh?
Go there.
Can you explain why this area is being closed? Okay, I'm walking. One by one, Palestinians are forced to close their shops and leave the area. People wanting to return to their homes are prevented from doing so. Can you explain just to me what's happening exactly?
Here?
Yeah.
No, I can't explain. Not your job to picture everything.
Huh?
Not your job to picture.
So the settlers went on what they call the tour of the old city. It's strange just how normalized this situation is for Palestinians, where their lives can be disrupted in such a way on a weekly, if not daily basis.
I mean, terrorists wouldn't care about their inconvenience, so I'm not surprised by that. And last September, the United Nations Human Rights Office of the High Commissioner put out a report on the IDF's war crimes. And I want to give you some excerpts from it, but I also want to just say this is one of several reports detailing the IDF's atrocities and war crimes. So the commission has been investigating the events on and since October 7th, 2023, for the last 2 years. Again, they put this out September of last year and concluded that Israeli authorities and Israeli security forces committed 4 of the 5 genocidal acts defined by the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. By the way, I don't know if most people know this, a little bit of trivia for you. The term genocide was actually coined by a Jewish individual, and he did so after the Armenian genocide happened. So, namely killing, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of the Palestinians in whole or in part, and imposing measures intended to prevent births. Remember, there was a fertility clinic in Gaza that they made sure to bomb the hell out of. All those embryos, all of those, future babies gone. Gee, I wonder why they did that. Explicit statements by Israeli civilian and military authorities and the pattern of conduct of the Israeli security forces indicate that the genocidal acts were committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip as a group. Now, Navi Pillay, who is the chair of the UN commission that put out this very report, says the following. The commission finds that Israel is responsible for the commission of genocide in Gaza. It is clear that there is an intent to destroy the Palestinians in Gaza through acts that meet the criteria set forth in the Genocide Convention. The commission also finds that Israelis had failed to prevent and punish the commission of genocide through failure to investigate genocidal acts and to prosecute alleged perpetrators. Now, if you're wondering, like, how do they establish these determinations? Well, in establishing genocidal acts, the commission examined the Israeli military operations in Gaza, including the following: killing and seriously harming unprecedented numbers of Palestinians, imposing a total siege, including blocking humanitarian aid leading to starvation, systematically destroying the healthcare and education systems in Gaza, committing systematic acts of sexual and gender-based violence. I'm going to pause right here for the gentleman in the audience who was very, very worried about IDF soldiers being mistreated. Remember, we also all witnessed that surveillance footage of IDF soldiers gang raping a Palestinian hostage and then never facing any consequences for it. I wish I could ask that gentleman whether or not he's okay with IDF soldiers engaging in gang rape. Oh, they're the best of us, aren't they? Anyway, let's continue. They also looked at, committing systematic acts of sexual and gender-based violence directly targeting children, which we know they do, carrying out systematic and widespread attacks on religious and cultural sites, and disregarding the orders of the International Criminal Court, the very International Criminal Court that man is furious with because they would have the audacity to call out the IDF's obvious war crimes. Now, just to get back to the issue of dual citizenship, I don't think any American should be fighting in any foreign country's military. I think that is grounds to have your citizenship revoked. You got to make a decision. If you want to be Israeli, if you want to fight on behalf of Israel as part of the IDF, great, go live in Israel.
Okay, I had to stop the tape right there. Now, here's where we can find a silver of common ground amid far from vastly different reasons. Singular loyalty? I absolutely agree with that. If you fight for another country's military, especially when America isn't directly involved, you've made your choice. Your alliance should be undivided. However, let's talk about the real citizenship crisis. We worry about Americans fighting for Israel, but millions pour across our southern border with no lines to any country, getting more benefits than our own veterans. The hypocrisy is astounding. If we're revoking citizenship, let's start with those actively working against American interests from within, or those openly defying our laws. Fighting for an allied nation is a far cry from the actual threats to our national sovereignty we ignore every day. Every day. Prioritize, people. Prioritize.
I hear Tel Aviv is great, but leave the rest of us alone. Because I think we've had enough people governing our country, certainly, who couldn't care less about this country. And if you happen to be a genocidal maniac, we don't really need you. I prefer you don't have US citizenship. That's my view. But if you're a US politician, you should be an American citizen and American citizen only, period. You can't be a public servant and have like a dual loyalty situation going on with any country. I don't care if it's freaking Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, whatever. I think you're good with one citizenship, and that should be the citizenship for this country if you want to live here and, more importantly, govern here. So those are my views, and people can cry about it if they want, but it's really important for us to have self-awareness. The IDF apparently has no self-awareness at all, but I'll let them know you're hated for good reason.
So there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour through some truly unhinged takes. It's clear that common sense is a rare commodity these days, especially when it comes to international affairs. But we're not going to let the narrative be hijacked by those who want to tear down our allies and undermine our own national security. We're going to keep calling out the nonsense, demanding accountability, and championing American strength. So tell me, what do you think? Are these IDF soldiers terrorists? Should we revoke citizenship for all foreign fighters? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dose of reality. And as always, stay vigilant, patriots. Stay vigilant.